And with angels being such a part of the history of Christianity, or before that, Judaism, because when the angels approached both Joseph and Mary, even though it reads in the Testaments that they were surprised or even scared, what's the first thing an angel always says? Do not,
Fear not.
yeah, fear not, for I come from God. I'm a
Right.
messenger from God.
Right.
My name's Mac McCoy. My co host today, as always, is Steve Arts. And this is part 1 of 4 in asking the question, are there angels among us? And if you would like to send us a email or some thoughts on this, you can do that at MAC, at theviewfromapew.com. Now, make sure you get those words correct because I mess them up all the time. I've got them written down in front of me. Mac at theviewfromapew.com. All right, so let me ask you this question. You know a little bit about my story. When I was in Jerusalem and broadcasting live, it'll be 9 years ago this December. The last night we were there was Christmas Eve. And one of the things that I had asked the Lord to do for me, or do for himself, as you would, when I was there, is I was searching for, talk about searching, I'm searching for his will for my life. You know, I love the radio thing. We have just tons of listeners across the land because of podcasting and webcasting and the internet. I think our shows are good and they're solid, but there are people out there that enjoy listening to them and watching them. But that's not what I think he called me for. So I went through a seminary class in the idea that, okay, I'm going to be a pastor. Well, that wasn't what he called me for either. So as I was at the Wailing Wall and I was praying to God to please reveal to me what his will for my life is, and this isn't going to happen with big thundering clouds and rainstorms and, all that kind of stuff. It was just real simple that I felt, not heard, felt God say, forgive. And I that was very confusing to me because I was expecting, my will for you, Mac, is to da 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 da. But all I felt was forgive. And people ask me a lot, what do you mean you felt it? How do you know that that was the Lord speaking to you? Well, I'm not completely sure, but I think it was, because the Holy Spirit speaks very softly and very gently. And there is no gender in the Holy Spirit. And when I felt that, it was gentle, forgive. Okay, so we get down, Craig and I get off the Wailing Wall, and we walk into, I don't know if you've ever been to the Holy Land, but Herod's castle used to be right there. It was part of the Wailing Wall. And the hallway, Herod's hallway to his castle, is still a library for Jewish men only, males only. And as I walked into this library, I walked by this teeny little man. And he had the box on his forehead. He had the dreidels. He was dressed in black and white, had the black hat on. And as I walked by him, I heard him say, "You are forgiven." Now, this is just the memory that I have for this. I looked down and for some reason looked at my right shoe and thought, Mac, you've got to turn around. You've got to go ask him if he was talking to you because you'll never see him again. And this is the cool part, or the question, but it's cool. As I bent down to look at him in his eyes grabbed me. I'll never forget those eyes. And I said, "What did you say to me?" And as I just said a moment ago, Mac, or not Mac, you are forgiven. But when I looked into those eyes, the first thing I thought of was an angel.
And angels take every form,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point. So what you may have seen as an angel or felt as an angel, somebody else would feel something totally different, see something totally different.
Yeah, and it was just the eyes, and I'll never forget those eyes. And maybe that angel had Jesus's eyes. That's what I'd like to think, but I won't know till I get there. But it was critical enough in my ministry to know that Jesus wanted me to pursue forgiveness. And I didn't know if that was for me to learn or for me to forgive or me to be forgiven. What it turned into, as I know you know, Steve, is part of my ministry is called 70 times 7. And I didn't write the curriculum. It was written by Bruce Wilkinson. And it is an 8-part series on the tools to be able to biblically be forgiven and forgive others. And if you've got somebody you're trying to forgive, let's say it's me, for instance, because I have a lot to, you have a lot to, hold against me if you want to.
I always think about the last show.
Yeah. But by the time you get done with that 8-week class, you have not forgiven that person that brought you to the class. What you have are the tools to begin to forgive that person. And many times what God lays on people's hearts is, let's not start with Mac, Stephen. Let's start with you.
Well,
You
and
need to learn to forgive yourself.
I think what he probably was really telling you, but you're doing it in steps, is to share his message.
Yes. Yeah, because people who take the class, and I do the class 4 to 6 times a year, and I limit it to 16 people because I want to have conversation. There's videos that Bruce does the teaching, so I'm really just directing traffic of conversation.
Facilitator.
Yeah, but you can't believe what you see God do with these people. It changes their lives. I have one young man who was in a class, and his father was very verbally abusive to him. Not sexually, not physically, verbally. And he swore that he would not grow up that way, and he swore that he would never treat his children that way. Move ahead, and he's got a daughter who's 25. And he and his daughter were face to face, and they were having a disagreement, and he doesn't remember what he said, and that's not important. But the answer from his daughter was, "Man, sometimes you remind me of Grandpa." And that froze that man in his tracks. And from that point on, his life was different. And it was different because the next class he learned that who he had to forgive was himself, not his father. He learned that he didn't stop that. He wanted to stop it. His father would be the last generation of fathers that would treat people that way. But with his daughter saying that little message, he realized that he hadn't stopped it.
Maybe the number one thing that angels are here to do is to help us forgive ourselves, because the demons want us to see ourselves as unforgivable,
Yep.
unworthy,
Yep.
give up on God
Yep.
because he's given up on you. That's their total message.
Yep, that's right.
And so it doesn't take a lot to fan that to make it more than it is, and pretty soon people give up. And that's not what we want.
Yeah. As we wrap up today's show, a lot of people want to bring up Jesus and their relationship to Jesus, and they don't know how. And so many times it comes across offensive to somebody. But I'll never forget this story. Jack Parr, who was the guy before Johnny Carson. For those of you that don't know who Johnny Carson was, he was before, who's the comedian that has all the cars?
Jay Leno.
Jay Leno. So anyway, we're going back to the 50s now and early 60s. And his guest that night was Billy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard this story?
No.
So Billy Graham walked into Jack Parr, sat down. "Hi, Jack. How are you? Hi, Billy. What's going on?" And Billy Graham said to Jack Parr, "How are you and God doing?" And for almost the entire show, Billy, what's the word I want? Witnessed to Jack Parr. And Jack Parr gives Billy Graham the credit for him becoming a Christian and having a relationship with his creator that he calls God.
I think I would have a little bit of advice. Don't think how you're going to do it. Just do something. Do anything.
Yeah.
Start it. You'll learn from it. I want to end with one thought too. One thing I'm kind of surprised at is, and I want to share this, is all the stuff that's going on in our world right now. There's one surprised maybe, and that is there's a unexpected surge in Bible sales.
Yes.
I mean, they're actually raising the because we're what we are. They're actually raising the prices because the demand is so great.
Yeah.
The Bibles.
And not we are not counting, or we're not, it's not us. And it's actually the Pew Research Company. They're not counting apps.
No, this is
These
the
are hardcore.
physical.
Yeah.
These aren't the ones the Gideons give away. These are the ones that people are buying.
Yes.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because they are making a conscious decision to purchase that.
And one of the things that we can do as followers of Jesus is to, and I'm going to preach for a second here. First of all, realize that a Christian is not perfect, and we don't think we are. In fact, we know without a doubt that we are not. In fact, we're sinners. We're the worst kind of human characteristics that there can be. And so when you become a Christian, or when you look at Christians, if you see someone that thinks they're better than anybody, you might not be looking at a Christian. You might be looking at somebody who wants to, we call them C-nos, Christian in name only.
Yes, not to be confused with rhinos. So obviously I did confuse it. So the thing is, though, the number one thing about a Christian is humility.
Yeah, and what's the definition of humility? Teachable.
Yeah, and also my definition of humility is God before me.
Yeah, and other people before you.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing that I'll add to this, if I may, if someone would want to start reading the Bible, don't, for heaven's sakes, let them start at Genesis. Start them in John, because John tells the easiest version of Jesus's life. And once they read John, if they want to go on, then they read Acts.
Well, and let me throw one other thing. You're talking about New Testament. If you want to read Old Testament, start with the Psalms.
Yeah.
The Psalms are praises and express life and see things from seeing God void of Jesus, because it's before his coming. Not that he wasn't around, just wasn't present to us. But yeah, I think the two together would supersede everything else. Yes.
Yeah, and the Psalms were written by a big sinner, a guy who it was King David, the same David that threw the stone at the giant and knocked him out and killed him. But still, David was, well, you can look it up.
Yeah, he took somebody's wife. You know, he had the guy killed in battle. So, I mean, the guy is, and that's after he got her pregnant. You know, he wasn't messing around. He was going full violation.
And then God took that child home and brought it home, meaning David didn't get to raise his own child.
And God forgave David, but David was never in the same preeminence, if that's the right word, prominence, as he was before.
Yes.
And so there was always that, call it taint. There was always that guilt or shame of some sort, even though he was forgiven.
Well, and you know, you've heard that saying, or you've seen the picture of an angel sitting on a cloud playing a harp. That's David, because David played a harp.
Right.
He played it in the Bible. I mean, he talked about the music that he was making with that harp.
Now, I don't know, Mac, but I don't think that means that if you're not musically inclined, you can't get to heaven.
Yeah, no.
I don't think we're going to go that far.
Let's just work on making heaven more crowded. How about we all do that? All right, I want to thank you today for tuning in to The View from a Pew. And the question is, are there angels among us? And I think in this part one, we've answered that question as yes. What comes next? How do they come to us? How do we love them? And who are they in God's eyes? I'm Mac McCoy. Thanks for listening. If I haven't told you lately, love this job. Couldn't do it without you.